Like I teased you after my discussions with the Secretary of the PDP Board of Trustees, former Governor of Niger State, Ali Babangida, we're still discussing the PDP matter. Joining us now is the party's National Publicity Secretary, Honorable Junkudo Mohammed. Welcome to the program. The last thing that he said when I said joining us will be the National Publicity Secretary was which PDP, which National Publicity Secretary. What is happening with PDP? What is even happening? We understand, okay, the Bala judgment has been nullified, but inside that judgment, Anya will remain suspended along with, I think, 3 others. But Wike is saying that there are no factions. It doesn't seem to hold water.
I don't even know where to start from. Because for the PDP, I think we have gone past the stage of where we will be discussing factions now. We have gone past the stage where we'll be discussing crisis. We have gone past the stage where we'll be giving recognition or dignifying certain individuals in the name of factional PDP. But out of respect, I want to start by saying the Secretary of the Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party is Honorable Isa Dansidi. He is from Jigawa State and not any former governor. And
Is he the Secretary of the BOT?
yes, the Secretary of the BOT.
So the Secretary of the BOT for you is not
for me. I am not here.
Niger State.
I am not here in a personal capacity. I am very sure. I am here as someone speaking and representing the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria with the slogan, "Power to the People." Now, at this material point in time, even the media should help by de-escalating and downplaying the issues surrounding the PDP. Of particular response is the issue of Samuel Anyanwu. People need to distinguish the various suits, cases, and judgments that are flying left, right, and center. The Supreme Court judgment delivered on Thursday, 30th, from the offshoot of the case starting from the Federal High Court up to the Supreme Court, it was not and never a case involving or discussing or complaining on any issue of suspension. It was just an appeal that emanated from a judgment that restrained the PDP from conducting a national convention in Ibadan 15th and 16th. We shouldn't be mixing anything. Yes, FCT High Court dismissed a suit filed by Senator Samuel Anyanwu. That also made media stories left, right, and center. But that case is not the same as the one delivered or decided by the Supreme Court. And I want to say in clear terms that the Court of Appeal, in deciding whether Chris Uche has the locus standi to file a case on behalf of PDP or not, that was where and when the Supreme Court now said, we have observed that yes, indeed, at the Federal High Court, Chris Uche was not rightfully briefed and direct to file case on behalf of the PDP. And therefore, all the processes he filed goes to no issue, were expunged from the records. On appeal, Chris Uche filed appeal again, and senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Ajibade, challenged the right of Chris Uche to file an appeal on behalf of the PDP. So, and the Court of Appeal now said that yes, while it was correct that at the lower court, Chris Uche was not directed by you to file case on behalf of the PDP. But now on appeal, we found from our records that you were suspended a day after the judgment of the Federal High Court. And therefore, the party then, while you were on suspension, the party then had the right to choose a lawyer that will represent her on appeal. And therefore, the preliminary objection challenging Chris Uche filing case on behalf of the PDP is hereby dismissed. So now, where the issue of suspension was mentioned, they said, we realize you were on suspension. That suspension, clearly from the records, was from 1st November to 30th November. And the Court of Appeal justices, it is there in the records of appeal, said clearly that the legality of that suspension is not the concern of the court, because that is an internal party affair.
Invariably, what are you saying? Are you saying that Anyang is not suspended and the 4 others?
I am talking about what the Court of Appeal said. The Court of Appeal said, the senior advocate of Nigeria, Ajibade, we have found in our records that you were suspended by your party on the 1st of November. And this appeal, which was filed on the 5th of November, you could not have acted within that period because you were on suspension. But the legality or otherwise of that suspension is not the concern
Of the court.
Because that is an internal party affair. This is what the Court of Appeal mentioned. So they did not affirm, they did not comment, they did not say anything. They were only determining whether the preliminary objection, objecting the local standing of Chris Uche to file appeal on behalf of the PDP was right or wrong.
Okay. You listen to, of course, you listen to the former governor, Babangida Aliyu, say, because as it stands today, as amended in Constitution 2017 of PDP, we have a BOT led by Wabara.
That is not correct.
Then now we have another BOT. Hold on. Then now, oh God. Then we have another BOT led by Mao, if I'm correct, is it Mao Ohuabunwa?
Yes, Senator Mao.
And he was talking about reconciliation going forward, particularly in terms of the fact that the time frame as it concerns electoral law for things to be done is quite short. What do you, in fact, he said that there's going to be a meeting, a committee has been set up, whether it has to be tweaked, and then is there any meeting going on? What do you think about the reconciliation, man?
I don't know what former Governor Babangida Aliyu is saying. I am sure he is speaking for himself, but he cannot, and I'm sure he has not been speaking for the PDP. Babangida Aliyu is only representing himself. He cannot be speaking for the PDP. So I don't really know what he's saying.
I'll just get back to you now. Just to let you know that the governor of Bauchi State, is just a breaking news. Governor of Bauchi State has moved from the PDP to
PM.
Has moved from PDP to the APM. We'll give you more details and, of course, tell you which party APM is. We'll give you that detail in the course of the program. But just know, breaking news, that Bala Mohammed, governor of Bauchi State, has has changed camp from PDP to the APM. Wave of defections continue among political players in this country. So, are you saying that there is no reconciliation move?
I don't know the reconciliation move being talked about by Governor Babangida Aliyu. And I shouldn't be commenting on what he said, just out of respect. For us in the PDP, yes, we have put in machineries to form a reconciliation committee. And very soon we will name members of that committee. And as to what he was, let me just respond out of respect, that the time frame is short to do this. Who said so? For us in the PDP, we have moved on. We are selling our nomination forms. People are buying. Just 30 minutes or 1 hour ago, an aspirant came in and picked a presidential nomination form against all the propaganda that PDP will not fill a presidential candidate. Just this afternoon.
Who?
Senator Sandy Ono, the original caterpillar. Yes, Senator Sandy Ono from Cross River, the orator of the Senate, 9th Senate, a former governorship aspirant in Cross River, a former chairman and professor, a very credible and competent, energetic person. He is just 60. He has all the energy that is required to push President Asiwaju and APC out of the presidential view.
All right, still telling you, sorry, I'm not just keep you on pause, just to reiterate that the former governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, has moved from the PDP, People's Democratic Party, that we're discussing about, to join the Allied People's Movement, that is the APM. That's just one of yours leaving your party.
That's my governor. I am from Bauchi. My congratulations to the freelance governor. He has finally found his rhythm.
From PDP to APM. Yeah. That means PDP has no governor.
For a very long time, he has not been a member of our party. Recall in November, he and Makinde were expelled. So it's not as if he was moving from PDP.
Okay,
Makinde
still remains.
No, not at all. We do not have a governor, but we have the masses and we have loyal party members. And that is what matters for us. It is Governor Bala Mohammed.
Let me just ask you this, because even I, who is interviewing you,
yes,
it's the courts. I don't know. It's. What do you make of interventions of the courts in our democracy, in party politics, in party internal democracy?
Yes, it is sad that politicians will allow courts to intervene before we do the right thing. The constitution is of respective political parties is there and is very clear. The Electoral Act and INEC guidelines, the constitutions are there, but you will still find politicians violating all of this, forgetting that we are evolving. The political development in this country is evolving day by day. Gone are the days where politicians will break these laws with reckless abandon and think that people will not go to court to seek redress. Yes, it is true that courts should not intervene in domestic affairs of political parties. But the Supreme Court has stated clearly that it is not absolute. We'll
leave it there. It is not.
It is not absolute.
We'll leave it there because of time. I still have some more interviews to do. So thank you so much, Junkudo Mohammed, National Publicity Secretary of the PDP. Thank you for
Thank you very much for saying the right thing.
Oh, well, what's all right. We'll continue with this week. Next is the March. Next will be the much anticipated Supreme Court verdict on the leadership conflict in the African Democratic Congress, ADC. We'll be back and we discuss that issue. Don't go away.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank digitally connected across Africa and global financial centers with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly whenever, wherever, however. A bank with smart financial solutions from a systemized blend of technology and human touch. For easy, fast and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Welcome to Licky Licky.
All right, glad to have you back. It's still this week, and I am Ndi Amungo. Next is the much anticipated Supreme Court verdict on the leadership conflict in the African Democratic Congress. After reserving judgment, the Apex Court on Thursday vacated the order directing parties in the African Democratic Congress to maintain status quo ante bellum pending the determination of its leadership crisis. Well, the party was, however, directed to go back to the Federal High Court to continue its case. The Supreme Court, in a unanimous decision by a 5-member panel headed by Justice Mohammed Lawal Garba, held that the Abuja division of the Court of Appeal acted beyond its jurisdiction by unilaterally issuing such an order after it had already dismissed a case that was brought before it by the David Mark-led faction of the party. The Independent National Electoral Commission had removed Mark and Raouf Araboshala from its portal, which they have now, of course, reinstated them, and website as ADC National Chairman and Secretary on April 1, citing the Court of Appeal's judgment. In swift compliance with the Supreme Court decision, INEC during the week updated its official records to reinstate David Mark as the national chairman alongside key members of the party's National Working Committee. Meanwhile, there are strong indications that some top leaders of the ADC are making moves to defect to the National Democratic Congress. The Labour Party 2023 presidential candidate Peter Obi and former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, are believed to be among those in the realignment moves following the uncertainty surrounding the Supreme Court judgment. All right, for more on the Supreme Court verdict and where it leaves the party in the build-up to next year's general elections, we have joining us in the studio Relwan Okpanachi, who is the counsel for Senator David Mark in this matter. Glad to have you on the program, Relwan. Let me just start it this way. Kachuku says that the Supreme Court ruling doesn't legitimize Mark and Bala as ADC leaders. He goes further to say Kachuku, he says that the Supreme Court did not instruct the INEC to recognize Mark-led faction, but INEC has done just that. What do you make of INEC's actions, Kachuku's statements?
Thank you. I think Kachuku's statement has no place in the scheme of things as far as the Supreme Court judgment is concerned, and INEC responsible and swift reaction and obedience to the Supreme Court judgment, matters. The Supreme Court judgment is very clear. Well, before even dive into that, let me say that what we are facing as counsel to David Mark and to Senator David Mark and AC largely is a coordinated attempt by a group of persons to derail ADC at all costs, using court process as their chosen instrument. Now you have so many cases, similar cases, as if some person sat in a particular room, prepared several cases, and decided to unleash them on ADC. One of the cases is the one filed by Kachuku, which was dismissed. They should have addressed you on that issue before talking about it. His case was dismissed. And now he's talking about a case filed by another co-conspirator. So, but let me address the law and not decide this. So, Supreme Court gave judgment, which we are very comfortable with.
But they say it's temporary.
There's nothing temporary about it. What was the state before? We didn't do.
No, I mean temporary in the sense that, I mean, you're the counsel.
Yes.
That Supreme Court says go back to the FHC, the Federal High Court.
And that is the position.
Go back there.
That is the position.
So the case is not ended yet.
That is the position. The case must not end before INEC continue to relate and deal with the leadership of EDC under distinguished Senator David Mark.
So INEC is relating with
Obviously so. Within hours of the Supreme Court judgment, INEC complied with the judgment.
Yeah.
Within hours. That shows that INEC has regained its sanity and now obeying rule of law, which is very commendable. Now, Supreme Court gave judgment that order status quo made by the Court of Appeal was made without jurisdiction and was unnecessary, and set it aside and asked parties to go back to the Federal High Court. What was the state before the parties went to the Federal High Court? Senator David Mark was fully in charge. And after the Supreme Court judge, he's fully in charge. At the Federal High Court, we didn't go to Federal High Court. It was Bala and co that took ADC and distinguished Senator David Mark to the Federal High Court.
And let's just briefly discuss that before we continue. It befuddles the mind. I mean, in some quarters, even some lawyers have wondered why you didn't go to defend the case in the Federal High Court. You didn't take the leave, as it is said in law, but David Mark went straight to the appeal, which the Supreme Court says, of course, says appeal court has no, cannot rule on that matter when he talked about antebellum, status antebellum, and directed you people back to the Federal High Court. How come that mistake was made?
You know, it wasn't any mistake, and it could have been one. It was, and now let me give you an example.
Okay.
I am in this room with you, in this studio with you.
Yeah.
It's somebody who is watching us, maybe seeing the much he can see. But we that are here, we are seeing more than just the person that is watching us. So lawyers and spectators and people, passerbys who are making comments based on their limited knowledge and understanding of the matter. They are not involved in the matter. And as a legal team, you must have your strategy in handling your case and in winning your case. And our client has a right when an order is made against him and is being directed to comply with the order, and it's of the view that that order was made without jurisdiction, to apply to appellate court to have the order set aside. It is a constitutional right that our client exercised. However, the Supreme Court has turned us back to. So it is based on what we as lawyers are aware of, the strategy we have adopted to ensure that our client is successful within the ambit of the law. We have not done anything outside the law. The judgment, the ruling was given. We felt that the court ought not to have made that order because the court has no jurisdiction to entertain the matter, and we went to the Court of Appeal, down to the Supreme Court. So it is the right of our client that our client decided to exercise, and there's nothing wrong with exercising the right.
Listen to what Bolaji Abdullahi, the National Public Secretary of the ADC, said. When you're fighting a war, you can celebrate a battle. We're cautious that this is going to be a long war, but we are ready for it, he said, adding that the party will not be distracted by temporary victories or setbacks. He was discussing in relation to the fact that you have to go back to the FHC, the Federal High Court. What are your strategies? Do you think you will come out victorious?
You know, we have joint issues with them at the Federal High Court. We will come out victorious. If you were in Supreme Court, other judgments came up. You heard the dissenting views in PDP matters. And even the Supreme Court dismissed PDP cases not on the basis of the merit of the case, but on the fact that they committed contempt of court. They disobeyed orders of court. So if we have criteria of authority that says court has no jurisdiction when it comes to internal affairs of a political party, It's not a big deal.
But it's not absolute.
It is absolute, except when the law provides for an exception, except that the law provides, which is the only exception under the law, is pre-election matter. That is, if you are a participant in a primary election of a particular political party, and you are aggrieved with the outcome of the primaries, you have the right to challenge the outcome of the primaries in Federal High Court. That is the only exception. Outside that, this court is even very clear in the case of
maybe I should ask you this.
In the case of Emmanuel versus Anyanwu, and even in case of Leonard Usman against Labour Party, the court made it very clear that even when there is allegation of breach of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and even the Electoral Act and the Constitution of the party, it is not an excuse for any court to assume jurisdiction. So long as the subject matter deals with, connected with, related to the
internal workings,
internal leadership, governance, and membership of a political party, no matter the correlation, no matter the ingenuity displayed in framing your reliefs, bringing in the Constitution of Nigeria, even if it's Constitution of America, India, anywhere, the court will not have jurisdiction. And that has been the position of the court, which has been codified in Section 83, subsection 5 of the Electoral Act 2026, which prohibits court from entertaining. So it's we are not disturbed. This victory is what we expected, is what we prayed for, and it has settled our case. We don't have any matter in Federal Court. They took us there. Let them prove their case. We don't have the ability to prove their case.
That's what that's the argument that they have to prove their case beyond reasonable doubt.
Let me tell you something. When they got that judgment at the Court of Appeal, they went to bed. They never went to Federal High Court. It was we that wrote to Federal High Court that this is the order of the Court of Appeal. Why? Because they thought with the order they got at the Federal High Court, they are home and dry. That is the biggest victory they ever imagined. They were never interested in having the matter at the Federal High Court decided because it should surely go against them. They set out to destroy the party using the court case as an instrument. And the moment they got out at the Court of Appeal, they went to bed celebrating, and to them that is all. So, but with the Supreme Court now setting aside that order and ordering us to go back, I think they'll be on their toes to ensure that the matter at the Federal High Court is determined timeously. And we are ready for them.
So you're very bullish about you guys coming out winners at the Federal High Court. When is that matter? I don't think that the date has been
no date has been fixed.
As yet.
No date has been
fixed. Are you people not, is the time span, the time frame not going to affect ADC?
No, at all.
All right.
As far, like I told you, ADC has leadership, legitimate leadership recognized by INEC. And even if the case takes 10 years, ADC leadership is intact. Okay. But we are not even interested in that because we are very sure that that case cannot survive the test of the law. We are eager to go back to the Federal High Court and have it determined.
All right. I think you started raising, because when you started, you were quiet, but when you were going on, you started raising the tempo because you seem to be very confident.
Of course.
All right.
And our confidence stems from the fact that our client, both the Senator David Mark and even the party have absolute confidence in us. All and we are very grateful for their confidence.
All right, thank you so much. We'll leave it there.
Sure.
Rail One Opmanachi, counsel for Senator David Mark, the chairman of ADC in this matter. Thank you so much for being here on Arise News. Oh, well, that's the much we can take on this edition of This Week. Thanks for our production team here in Abuja, Lagos, and of course around the globe. Do join us same time next week for another exciting edition from me and D. Amogo. Bye.